For nearly 10 years, the world searched for Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 and found nothing. No confirmed crash site, no black boxes, no final explanation. Then, unexpectedly, the search began again, not because of a discovery, but because new analysis suggested investigators may have been looking in the wrong place all along. Tonight, we examine the evidence that brought MH370 back into focus. Welcome to Ghost Airways. In this episode, we move beyond speculation and examine the analytical work, refined modeling, and technological advancements that quietly reignited the hunt for MH370. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 departed Kuala Lumpur for Beijing, carrying 239 passengers and crew. The aircraft was a Boeing 777, widely regarded as one of the safest long-haul airliners ever built. Weather conditions were stable, the aircraft had no reported technical issues, and the flight plan was routine. Nothing in those early moments suggested that aviation history was about to record one of its most perplexing disappearances. At 1:19 a.m., the co-pilot signed off from Malaysian airspace with the now famous words, "Good night, Malaysian 370." Minutes later, the aircraft vanished from civilian radar. Initially, this seemed like a technical anomaly. Radar dropouts are not unheard of, but what followed transformed confusion into crisis. Malaysian military radar later revealed that the aircraft had turned back. It crossed over the Malay Peninsula and continued flying westward. There was no distress call, no emergency code, and no sign of sudden structural failure. The deviation appeared deliberate. That single maneuver shifted the investigation from accident to anomaly. Even after radar contact was lost, MH370 continued to transmit automated signals to an Inmarsat system. These handshakes occurred hourly and indicated that the aircraft's systems were still powered for several hours after it disappeared from radar. Investigators used these signals to create arcs representing possible flight paths. Two broad corridors emerged, one stretching north towards Central Asia and another sweeping south into the Indian Ocean. After eliminating the northern route through radar data and airspace monitoring records, attention turned to the southern corridor, a vast, remote region of ocean far from commercial flight paths. The idea that a modern wide-body jet could vanish in such an area seemed almost unthinkable. Yet, the satellite data suggested precisely that. The southern Indian Ocean search became unprecedented in scale. Multiple nations deployed aircraft and ships. Advanced sonar equipment scanned the seabed thousands of meters below the surface. Over time, more than 120,000 square kilometers of ocean floor were mapped. It was a logistical and technological effort rarely seen outside military operations. And yet, nothing conclusive was found. In 2017, after years of scanning, the official search was suspended. Later, a private company conducted an additional mission covering over 100,000 square kilometers under a no-find, no-fee arrangement. Again, no confirmed wreckage field was located. To many observers, the case appeared to be reaching a permanent dead end. While the main wreckage remained missing, pieces of debris confirmed to be from MH370 began washing ashore along the coasts of Africa and islands in the western Indian Ocean. These fragments were significant. They confirmed that the aircraft had indeed entered the southern Indian Ocean. However, they did not pinpoint the crash site. Instead, they introduced a new line of inquiry: drift analysis. Oceanographers and investigators studied how currents move across the Indian Ocean basin. They analyzed wind patterns, seasonal shifts, and marine growth on recovered fragments. By running reverse drift simulations, scientists attempted to trace the debris back to its potential origin. Early modeling broadly supported the initial search area, but as ocean current data improved and computing power allowed more detailed simulations, discrepancies began to appear. Some newer models suggested that the likely origin point of the debris lay slightly outside the previously searched zone. The difference was not dramatic on a map of the world, but in deep-sea search operations, even a shift of dozens of nautical miles can mean the difference between discovery and failure.
Simultaneously, independent analysts continued examining the Inmarsat satellite information. A critical element of this analysis involved burst frequency offset, influenced by Doppler shift, a phenomenon that measures changes in signal frequency caused by relative motion. Initial interpretations provided a general trajectory toward the southern Indian Ocean. However, refined modeling years later incorporated updated assumptions about aircraft performance, fuel burn rates, and autopilot behavior. These revisions produced slightly different descent scenarios. One debate centered on what happened when fuel was exhausted. Did the aircraft enter a rapid, uncontrolled dive, creating a tight debris field? Or did it glide for some distance, potentially expanding the impact zone? Each possibility would shift the probable crash site. When updated satellite modeling was combined with refined drift simulations, a new high-probability search zone emerged, an area that had not been comprehensively scanned in earlier missions. This was not a dramatic revelation, it was incremental science correcting itself. For years, Malaysian authorities maintained that the search would resume only if credible new evidence justified it. That threshold was eventually met through data consolidation rather than a single discovery. Ocean Infinity proposed returning to the southern Indian Ocean with more advanced autonomous underwater vehicles capable of higher resolution seabed mapping. Importantly, the company offered to operate under a renewed no-find, no-fee agreement. Financial risk would be minimized, and the search would focus on a refined 15,000 square kilometer zone identified through updated modeling. This proposal was not based on speculation. It was supported by probabilistic analysis integrating satellite data, oceanography, and aircraft performance assumptions. This combination persuaded authorities that one more attempt was justified.
The renewed search differs fundamentally from earlier efforts. It is narrower, more precise, and technologically advanced. Instead of scanning vast expanses based on broad arcs, investigators are concentrating on a tightly defined area with statistically higher probability. Autonomous underwater vehicles now operate with improved sonar resolution, better navigation systems, and enhanced deep water endurance. The ocean floor can be mapped in greater detail than was possible in 2014. In essence, the restart represents a shift from expansive searching to targeted exploration. If the wreckage is found, the implications would be profound. Recovery of the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder could finally clarify the sequence of events during the aircraft's final hours. Investigators would gain insight into flight controls, autopilot engagement, system performance, and cockpit communication. Such findings would not only resolve historical uncertainty, but also inform aviation safety protocols worldwide. Every unexplained crash leaves unanswered questions about vulnerability and prevention. However, if this renewed search also fails, the likelihood of future discovery decreases. While the ocean is vast, search areas are finite. Each unsuccessful mission narrows the field, but also reduces remaining probability zones. The evidence that restarted the search for MH370 was not cinematic. There was no dramatic sonar image, no whistleblower, and no sudden technological breakthrough that revealed the aircraft's location. Instead, it was the accumulation of nearly a decade of analytical refinement, satellite data reinterpreted, drift paths recalculated, and probability models updated. In complex investigations, progress often comes not from new discoveries, but from revisiting old data with sharper tools and clearer assumptions. The restart reflects that principle. Somewhere beneath the southern Indian Ocean lies a Boeing 777 and the answers it carries. Whether this renewed effort will uncover them remains uncertain. But for the first time in years, the search is guided by a more precise understanding of where the aircraft most likely came to rest. Until that wreckage is located, MH370 remains one of the defining unsolved mysteries of modern aviation. This is Ghost Airways.